What's up, guys? This is K-LO, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but welcome back to another episode of Community Kitchen, where we are cooking up the latest and greatest gaming headlines. Now, before we get into today's subject, Aiden, why don't you say what's up?
Hello. Fun fact about me, I used to have a Psycho mask and then it broke.
Oh, that would have been nice for this episode,
Yeah, it would have
because
been. I could have done the whole video in it.
you would have hid your face from
Yeah.
the onslaught that's about to come. But before we get into any of that, we'd like to say thank you. If you're new here to Game Sandwich, consider subscribing for all the latest and greatest gaming news, rumors, and reviews, and join our Discord. The links to that is all in the video description down below. But we've been preaching this era of positivity, and you clicked on this video because you've seen the title. I'm about to say the headline, but you know what I mean. Borderlands 4. We're looking forward to it. This is a game we've covered top to bottom. We did a Vault Hunter breakdown. We've been doing videos on it, and it's safe to say we both enjoy it. Out of the two of us, Aiden down there is very much a mega Borderlands fan, and I'm just gonna say it like that. You know, you can. That's all you. That's all you. I'll pass that crown to you. But
It's him.
yeah, right. But there's always a but. We have some reservations. And before we get into our reservations about Borderlands 4, I think this all stems back to the person at the helm of this all. And Aiden, this is where I pass it off to you.
Okay.
What did Randy Pitchford do now?
Okay, so we're gonna get into the meat of everything with talking about not really our wish list, but our fears, more or less, for Borderlands. But we're not the only ones with fears. We're not. There are plenty of people who have had criticism. There was a lot of criticism about Borderlands 3. I know someone personally, you might have seen him in streams, Andrew. You mentioned Borderlands, he will immediately just talk crap on it. He will just hammer it in and be like, "Ooh, I hated Borderlands 3 with a passion. They destroyed it." He will go off on it.
He refuses to touch
And
that game.
yeah, exactly. He refuses to touch it more than the 3 or 5 minutes that he played of it. Like, he barely played it, and he was like, "No, I'm done." But he loves Borderlands 2 as well, so that is meaningful for him to just jump off of that. But there was a little bit of an incident, as Kevin stated, with a little known fella named Randy Pitchford. You might have heard of him. Not sure.
Maybe.
He's only the CEO of Gearbox, and people are very salty because he had a big hand in the Borderlands movie, and that turned really bad.
Hmm.
So, yeah, but he is known for kind of talking a little bit of crap on Twitter and everything, or X, whatever you want to call it. And that has still continued. Recently, there was a guy named Mitsu. I don't know of him. It's just like Mitsu Show is his X name. If you want to look him up, he is a streamer from what I can tell. He is a passionate Borderlands fan. And he recently talked about his reservations with Borderlands 4. He said that he does worry about Borderlands 4. He said, quote, "It feels like the movie, feels like other situations where the publisher yanked the marketing budget to cut losses since projected sales are way, way down." He also said, "I've yet to see anything that moved me towards being sold on this as being fully conceptualized."
Hmm.
So, with that being said, that was back in February that he mentioned that. That was February 19th.
Yeah.
Now, since then, Randy Pitchford responded saying that he was just blocking him. Didn't need the negativity, was blocking him. Okay, cool. Now, fast forward to this month, and we have Gothalion. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He is another streamer, another passionate gamer, who specifically talked about that situation and said that he spoke about it on stream, said that Mitsu Show loves Borderlands, and gave valid concerns, and that really they were just mild takes. And I agree, they were pretty mild takes.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but Pitchford here immediately responded to this and said, I didn't see any critique. I saw quote unquote shitty negativity that was demotivating, and said, if you want Borderlands, root for us and cheer us on. And if you take the developer's passion for granted, then you'll pay the price.
I'm going to do something rare and say he's not entirely wrong. Where it's like, you never. We're here asking for more Borderlands, but we want it done right. I think that's fair and justified as fans. And to root for the studio to, like, just completely screw up this game, like, that's a little. Like, it's not solving anything, it's not fixing anything. And
Yeah.
I do think this all comes from the fact that, like, things you brought up where you're like, all right, the movie released, that flopped. Borderlands 3 released, that was kind of like a bad taste in all the fans' mouths. Everyone was like, don't really like it. And then you can do what you want with those little spin-off games in between. Well, whatever. The stock, so to speak, for Borderlands is at an all-time low, where we were talking earlier this week about games like Battlefield, games like The Last of Us, and we're talking about Call of Duty, and we're talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Again, this is a franchise that is at a low where it needs to release a game to get it back in the good graces of gamers, where it's like, no,
Yeah.
this is Borderlands, this is a tentpole franchise in gaming. This hangs with the likes of Call of Duty, Halo, and even Halo has its problems. But you know what I mean? Like, it needs to get back to that status. And
Yeah.
Randy Pitchford here, I agree. Like, it's not okay to root for a studio to fail. But at the same time, they deserve criticism where they know they've messed up. And it's like
Yeah.
with him doing this and, like, saying all these, like, unhinged things, it's like you're not helping yourself, you're not helping your case. The haters that see this will magnify this 20 times more and be like, you're really gonna trust this guy with your game? Like, no, obviously not. Like, why would we do that? I don't know, but I don't want to be
Yeah.
too negative on him. Well,
It's
not yet.
like, I don't want to be overly negative on him. I
There you
don't,
go.
because like I agree with you. You shouldn't root for something to fail, because ultimately, if you continuously think negatively and you continuously think that something is going to fail, it ultimately will look worse in your eyes. Like if you go into something going, "I'm gonna hate this," you're more likely to hate it.
No, for sure.
Definitely, that's like definite right there. You should, but that doesn't mean that you can't criticize. That doesn't mean that you should openly criticize things. And yes, you should like talk about your own fears and concerns. So
Yeah.
like as part of that, and one of the things that gets me really from the post, I'm just gonna point this out, is that he said, "Don't gaslight me" on the original post. But the original post literally was not like, I read it. I read the parts. Like it wasn't overly negative. It was just saying, "Hey, I have a fear that this is going to be kind of bad."
Yeah.
And there's a genuine concern there, especially because the movie flopped and stuff. And like, but I also agree though, you should root for the people. You should say, "Hey, do your best work. Give us your best. We will give you our best." There you go.
Exactly, and
But
it's valid. It's valid criticisms. I mean, hell,
yeah,
you have a tattoo of this franchise on your body that will stay with you forever. There it is, right there.
yeah,
Everything you say isn't out of spite for Gearbox or Borderlands. It's out of, like, love and respect for a franchise that has meant so much to you. And it's like, whenever you're in the spot of Randy Pitchford, he's probably thinking, no, these people just want to, like, tear me down because blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, like, people just want a damn good Borderlands game to enjoy for once. That's
yeah.
all they want.
And with that being said, like there are fears, that we have.
We
One
do.
of the biggest fears that I have is that the story's going to end up like Borderlands 3's.
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest concern of Borderlands 3. The biggest thing I hated was the story. They screwed up with the story. They put too much toilet humor in it. They put too much meme humor in it, and it just did not work. And that is a valid concern to still have, that the Borderlands 4 story might still end up like that.
It's that thing of your last impression will speak volumes to the next game, where it's like, All right, we're gonna go from like Black Ops 6 just released. Everyone liked it. Everyone thinks like, oh, Call of Duty's back. We say it with every release, but you know what we mean. It's like now the expectations for the next Call of Duty releasing this year, 2025. It's up there or on par with we expect this to hit like Black Ops 6. Or we'll just say, I don't know, what's another sequel? I'm not going to say Assassin's Creed Shadows because that game, Lord help it, we all know that's going to be something. But you get what I mean, like where a sequel has that expectation, especially if the first game hit, it's like, no, we expect.
Yeah, I mean, you could say the same thing with Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 3. Like, Borderlands 2, beloved by so many.
Exactly.
Expectation for Borderlands 3 was super high. Especially, like, even with the pre-sequel not doing as good as Borderlands 2, expectations were still really high. But
Yeah.
then, Borderlands 3 happened, and then expectations went, boom, they dropped. Then the movie happened, and the movie is still fresh in people's minds. It just happened in August.
That's crazy.
And so that's the last impression people have is the movie, not even the game.
Yeah.
And with the movie flopping like that and just like basically being thrown out after it was released,
Yeah.
there's a pretty bad impression already being sent to people.
Well, you voiced your criticism on the story, and that's where my, like, spoiler, that's where my main gripe is with this next game. How will they make the story intriguing, enticing, much like Borderlands 2 and even 1 was. But another aspect to that for me personally, I haven't cared personally about a character or a set of characters since the first game, like deeply. I'm saying like Roland and all those, like Mordecai. I I resonated with that group because that group of Vault Hunters really encapsulated what I wanted. I enjoyed playing as Zero. I enjoyed playing as Flak. But if I look back on like where I'm going to rank these people and all that, obviously Borderlands 1 comes first. And
Yeah.
I want this set of Vault Hunters to kind of have that same resonation with me. Like, to be like, oh, like, no, these are characters we can carry with us for a long time. And if they do so pop up in Borderlands 5 or 6, we'll be like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe so-and-so is back. You know, like, I need that to hit for this game.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. Like, I want to connect with the characters. I want them to do with these new Vault Hunters what they did with the Vault Hunters of Borderlands 1 and 2. Because, like, the first one, I loved that the original characters carried over into the subsequent games.
Yeah.
And that you developed more story about them as things went. You originally, even in the first game, you had bits of story to go off of with them. And same thing with Borderlands 2, you had bits of story. Borderlands 3, you had bits of story. But I argue that, like, you know, that Borderlands 3 didn't have as strong character building as Borderlands 2, like 1 and 2 did. And so, like, I want that strong character building again. I want Borderlands 4 to have that strong character building. And so that is a valid fear to worry that the characters aren't going to hit as strongly as they did in those past games. And, like, speaking of the characters, another fear of mine is that the action skills won't be as fun to play with. Because, like, Borderlands 3, I will say, I loved the gameplay. I really liked the action skills. I thought they were fun. Flax was the only one I didn't really care about. But
Yeah.
Amara's action skills, I thought they were great. I loved the whole spiritual driver thing. Like, I had a spiritual driver build where I would run around and just punch things.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then Mose was my second favorite character with, like, Iron Bear. Loved that. Loved the whole mech suit thing. And so I want these next characters to have, like, real good action skills that really are fun and creative and, like, really feel like they pack a punch, you know?
Yeah, and from what we've seen with the gameplay and just kind of piecing together information, it looks smooth. It looks like it's going to flow, which is great. Like I said, I'm going to main that giant Viking dude with the axes. I think he's freaking awesome. I don't even know his name yet or what his abilities are, but based off looks, I'm like, yeah, that's my guy. I do want to ask you, though. I've said the characters, and I do agree with gameplay. That's a big part of this game, obviously. For me, Handsome Jack for me is the Borderlands villain. Just bar
Yeah,
none, that's who I resonate with. As whenever I think of Borderlands, I think, all right, there you go. There's the Borderlands baddie right there.
of course.
What was her name from the first game? Commander something?
Commander Steel.
Commander
Commandant Steel, really.
Commandant Steel. And then you had Tyrene and then her brother, which again speaks volumes of I don't even know his name. That's my problem too, where it's like I want a memorable villain. Like I want someone to stick out and you say like, "Oh, making a villain's easy." It's not. Like Borderlands for me is the perfect canvas to make a villain because it's so unhinged and you
Yeah.
can kind of do whatever you want.
It's
That's
kind of
why
like Far Cry.
I was
Like
just
Far
about to
Cry
say that.
villains are amazing. Yeah.
I was literally just about to say Far Cry. What's his name? The dude with
Oh,
the mohawk.
I don't even remember right now off the top of my head.
The dude with the mohawk. Someone correct me in the comments. But like how unhinged he was.
Voss.
Voss.
Voss was his name. I remembered it as I was looking it up.
There we go. So yeah, like again, like Borderlands has the canvas for an unhinged villain that can be memorable, can be loud, can be anything you want, really. And yeah, for them to kind of waste that canvas to kind of be like, oh yeah, here's two streamer people, like great, like thanks for that. That could be a side villain. I don't care. That's the problem too with Tyrene and her brother, where it's like I can see those two as side villains, but no credible threat. Like whatever.
Oh yeah.
If anything, General Knox too. Like it's Handsome Jack and like General Knox, where I'm like, okay, like those are the people I remember most from Borderlands villains, like even evil Claptrap. But yeah, you know, whatever there. But yeah, I just want a memorable villain. You know, that's all I want.
Well, you know what? Just going off of that, like another, and maybe one of my biggest fears, I would say, really outside of story, and it kind of coincides with story, and it goes with the villain thing too. My One of my genuine fears is that they end up reverting back to, oh, Handsome Jack did well. Let's just bring him back. And like, there's a Handsome Jack AI, and I have no doubt that that will play a role in this game. I have no doubt about that. And I'm expecting the Handsome Jack AI to make some sort of appearance in some way, shape, or form. But I have a genuine fear that they're just going to be like, oh, okay, now we just bring back Handsome Jack. Oh, we used Timothy as the clone, and he just becomes Handsome Jack. Or, oh, Handsome Jack literally created a clone of himself. Here you go. Here's Handsome Jack. Blah blah blah. You know, that would irk me so much.
Yeah.
I would absolutely hate that. If it's a fun side quest where it's like, oh, Handsome Jack was toying with the idea of making a clone, and like you have to shut down a cloning facility, I'd be okay with it. But if it's like oh, that's an integral part of the story, I would be like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Gearbox?
Well, yeah, that'd be the crutch to be like, oh,
Yeah.
like we don't got nothing better, so let's wheel him out. Again, you have a blank canvas. Like, take the chance at this point. Like,
Yeah.
what does Borderlands have to lose to just be like, here's a new villain. He's this, this, and that, or she's this, this, and that. Whatever. Like, hey, we're open to it. Like, I would think people would take more to them at least trying to do something than just wheeling out Handsome Jack again. Where it's like, you know, they took the lazy route out. And I'd rather them go out guns blazing, you know? Just kind of just take the chance. You have nothing to lose.
Exactly. I'd rather them just be like, oh, here's the wackiest, zaniest villain we could think of. Boom, you either love him or you hate him, kind of deal. Rather than be like, here's reused assets.
Yeah, and it's like the Borderlands community specifically would probably like that more because it's like, all right, here's an over-the-top, absolutely manic villain where it's like maybe he's just a little too much, and it's like that fits in Borderlands. If you're kind of getting what I'm saying, where it's like, isn't there a guy called you have to hit him in the face, and he's called like Punch
Face shooting.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that works in Borderlands. Like, why can't that work for a villain where it's like, oh, he's just too crazy? Where it's like even people within Borderlands are like, yo, get a load of this guy. You know? Like, why not?
Exactly. Like, I'd even be fine if they bring back Handsome Jack as like a means of, like, if they bring in the Handsome Jack AI, for instance, and just go, hey, that's a means of helping you defeat the main villain.
Yeah.
You know, I'm perfectly fine with that.
A necessary
Just
evil.
like I said, don't rely on him being your villain, and
Yeah.
I'm good. But like that's really my main fears. Is like I have like those three main fears where it's like story, villain, and then character action skills. That's like my tier right there, with the story being the first one. Because I mean, like with Borderlands 3, I could have gotten over like Troy and Tyrene not being that great if the story really hit.
Yeah.
And like what they were doing really hit. It was just they weren't good characters.
Yeah.
I would have been so good with that, but the story itself was not that great.
It's insane. It absolutely is. But yeah, if you have any gripes about Borderlands, let us know in the comments down below or join our Discord. Again, links to that is all in the video description. But to avoid being negative any further, that about does it here for this episode of Community Kitchen. I've been K-LO, joined by Aden, and we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed today's video and want more content just like this, consider subscribing to Game Sandwich for all your news, rumors, and reviews. And we'll see you guys next time.